Welcome to Real World. Today I'm going to discuss episode 3 of House of the Dragon, second of his name. And it's an interesting title because it forewarns the struggles to come. Aegon isn't really second of his name until he's on the throne. Rhaenyra still remains the heir, so it's a sign of where we're headed. It was a great start to the episode with Daemon on Caraxes burning up the crab feeders men. And then you see like the one big roadblock that remains for Daemon's ultimate conquest of the Stepstones. And that's that the crab feeder and his men are just retreating into the caves, just when it looks like they're going to be able to swing the balance with the dragons. And Kragus is slowly trying to win this war of attrition and wearing down Daemon and Corlys's forces. I really like, too, how they added in this aspect of the caves because it reminded me of Dorne. During Aegon's conquest, Dorne did not surrender. It was the only kingdom that didn't. And at the time, it was largely because the people they said, would disappear. And although it was never confirmed, it was sort of assumed that they were escaping into caves. So they brought that point in here for the Stepstones, and I thought it was a nice addition. So they tease us the battle in the Stepstones, and we'll have to wait until the end of the episode to see the resolution of that conflict. And from there, the focus turns to Viserys and Rhaenyra. 2 years have passed, and their relationship is even worse than it was before. And Viserys' weakness and bad choices just continue to compound problems for him. And I thought it was interesting in this episode because sometimes people that are weak will tend to bristle if there's a stronger personality, someone that's forceful. And that's what Viserys will do when he's faced with Daemon or Rhaenyra. But Alicent very smartly is playing a different game. She's very demure. She's very cautious around him. When there was that notice, she asked if it was okay if she would read it. And she's much more effective in influencing him. He's very easy to manipulate. And you can't help but think that, and obviously they're very different personalities, Daemon and Rhaenyra. It's not in their makeup. But if they were a little bit more savvy in that way and they were to work around it, they could manipulate him very well. But instead, they oppose, they fight back. And that's where the conflict is. And people like Alicent and Otto have found out how to really get at Viserys. But you really can't blame Rhaenyra here either. She's young, she lost her mother, her good friend married her father, and now they had a child together who could threaten her rightful place on the throne. And she's feeling lost and uncertain in all of this. She's also being dealt like a commodity to the different houses in marriage. And when Jason Lannister approaches her, she also sees how uncertain her position is as heir, because he's already assuming that Aegon is going to be king. Then Rhaenyra goes off on her own for a bit. Kristen Cole follows. And I kind of questioned this. I was wondering if they would actually leave the princess out this long alone, even though they knew Kristen Cole had followed overnight. But then this is Viserys, so I guess anything goes. I like what they did with the sequence of scenes here with Rhaenyra. First off, they showed her ferocity and toughness when she had to face the boar on her own and was able to kill it. And then later, covered in blood, walks back through camp to everybody's eyes. And just kind of a little bit of foreshadowing there of the troubles to come. And then also the scene with the white stag, which was such a big deal for Viserys to kill the white stag on his son's second name day. And here it comes, and it appears to Rhaenyra, confirming that she's the rightful heir. Then we finally get a non-confrontational scene between Viserys and Rhaenyra. And while he stresses that she needs to get married, he tells her that he wants her to be happy and that he leaves it up to her to pick the right person. And this, of course, is an idea that Allison had put in his head, but at least in this instance, it's something that's also very good for Rhaenyra. I even felt a little bit sorry for Viserys in this episode, and I've been really critical of him in the past. It's because he demonstrated a sense of self awareness. On a couple of occasions, he admitted that he made mistakes, and those decisions had messed things up. The scene with the stag, too, I think was representative of really a lot of his problems and how he's just going through the motions and kind of lost in it all. They had this stag bound up, and he seemed to even recognize what a farce it was. He was reluctant to kill it, and still he went forward with it. And then afterwards, everybody applauded, even though he had completely botched the kill. And that's kind of representative for his whole reign. Before I get to those final scenes in the Stepstones, there's one other thing that I wanted to point out about Rhaenyra. And it was when Viserys reassured her that she was still his heir. On the surface, this seems like a great thing. But when you dig a little bit deeper, I think there's just some real seeds for what her future problems are going to be. Viserys said that he would be honest with her, and he mentioned that at one point he did doubt it. And why I feel that this is so significant is that her own father was considering possibly putting Aegon on the throne after he had committed to her and reassured her at other points. Even he doubted it. So, what does this mean for the rest of the realm? If this is what her own father will do, how will the rest of these people accept her? Now, on to Daemon. Obviously, he doesn't believe in the phrase, don't kill the messenger. He just felt like he had no other recourse at this point. He wants the glory for the Stepstones. And now he sees his brother stepping in and stealing it from him. So he concocts this crazy suicide mission. Clearly, it's do or die for him. He'd rather just either win the war on his own terms or lose his life. There's just no in between, and that leads to this recklessness. I love the scene with Daemon on the beach and all the uncertainty that you had viewing it. Slowly coming in with the white flag, holding out his sword. You're just unsure at that point exactly what he's going to do. Is he wanting to meet with the crab feeder and discuss terms? Like what's happening? I mean, you have that little bit of doubt that feeling that something's about to happen. And that was just really filmed well. And then we had Daemon jump into action, cutting down the crab feeders, man. This was a little reminiscent for me of the better scenes in Game of Thrones with Jon Snow's sword play. There was a little bit of, it's an overused term, but plot armor for Daemon here. He did catch a few arrows, particularly towards the end. So it's not a big complaint on my part. As long as this isn't something they consistently do that Daemon is just almost invincible. But it worked for this episode. I would have liked to have seen Daemon kill the crab feeder, though. The last scene we had was him pursuing him into the cave, and then the next thing you know, he's taking his body back out. That was a little anticlimactic for me. I wanted to see the resolution there. And sure, Kragus is infested with grayscale. It affects your mind and your body. He wouldn't be able to put up too much of a fight, but you still want to see it. We've built up to this point, and you want to see it to its conclusion, or it feels like for the audience that you're missing something. One last thing, Damon didn't have anything covering his hand when he pulled out the crab feeder's body. He had grayscale, which is very infectious, so not sure if that's something they missed. I don't anticipate them having Damon catch grayscale, though. Okay, time to rate this one. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. First battle sequences we've seen in the series. Miguel Sapochnik, as usual, is at the top of his game. Well coordinated, suspenseful scenes. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, we also did see our third dragon of the series in this one, Sea Smoke, written by Laenor Velaryon. What I've really appreciated about the first 3 episodes is that the quality has remained consistent. Sometimes with series, what happens is they can wow you in one episode, and then it gets a little bit choppy and inconsistent, but that's not the case here. All right, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're interested in more House of the Dragon content, hit subscribe. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.